Lost my mind, now I'm feeling so fine, cause I finally realized I don't need you. I'm feeling sublime, and you're watching me shine, and you realize it's time I don't need you.
Hi, this is Brooke.
Hey, this is Imani.
And welcome to another episode of Resources in the Valley,
where you get your tools to make the most out of every day. All right, Brooke, so how was your week this week? How's it going?
It's the beginning of the tax season. It's fun, and this is what happens every year. And I've been doing this for well over 20 years, so.
That's awesome. I'm one of those people hounding Brooke every because Brooke becomes everybody's top contact, most frequently called during tax season. And my week went really well. It was one of those kind of grueling weeks where when you look up, it went fast, but day to day, each day felt like years. So I'm definitely looking forward to the weekend and relaxing. All right, so our last episode, we talked about no excuses, and man, that really helped me to, every time I wanted to make an excuse, it's like I could hear bits of our podcast, you know. Don't you want the gift of seeing what could happen if you did not give up? I could hear Brooke's voice. I could hear Brooke's voice saying, You got this. You can do it. What are you afraid of? Just go. Start. Go. What are you waiting for? Don't call me next year talking about you unhappy about your circumstances and you didn't do the thing you said you'd do last year. You know, she says things in a lot more loving manner than that, but she gave it to you straight. So how did you feel like your week was impacted by our No Excuses episode?
Well, I took on a part-time job for this season, and it has totally, if I wasn't busy before, I'm definitely busy now. So I have had to really truly embrace no excuses. And one thing I realized actually like a couple weeks ago, just in like being and kind of reviewing life and the things going on, I realized that when you are busy, you don't have time to complain, you know, and, already being busy, but then taking on this part-time job for the season to kind of fill in the gaps. There are no more gaps, and there is no time to wallow in I'm so tired. Once I think about I'm so tired, like I've thought about it too long because I have something else to do. So truly living on no excuses. Maybe I'll let the excuses kick back in the summertime just a little bit, but right now for the next 3 to 4 months, it's no excuses. Everything has to get done. Everything has to be done in a timely fashion, and execution is key, and paying close attention to every detail is key.
Excellent. And we do hope that you were able to implement our call to action, which was coming up with 3 ways that you can eliminate excuses in your life. And we know that excuses will always be there. We will always find some or millions of them, but it's about what you're going to do. You know they're coming, so prepare for them before they get here. So I'm so excited about this episode. It's actually one of the reasons why we started our podcast. I would call Brooke midday on my lunch break and say, hey, I saw this in the news. What does this mean? Or, hey, I have this life change? How does this affect my taxes? Did you see this? Did you hear about this? What is that? It was just a slew of questions. So we consolidated a few of them from frequently asked questions, and I'm very excited. So she's going to be answering questions in this episode. If you'd like to hear further insights into certain things that she touches on, definitely feel free to reach out to her Instagram handle or email her just to get personalized insight and find out how you can go deeper into some of these things. All right, so.
And there will be a poll also attached to the podcast on Spotify. So you can answer the poll there with any questions. And if this episode has to be 2, then we may address your questions in the second episode.
Yay! Okay, well, let's dive back in. I think that one big question many people have is last year's environment as it related to tax season. 2022 was wild. So with that, there were many people experiencing delays in their taxes and receiving refunds and receiving corrections implemented and things like that. Do you foresee there being that lengthy waiting period this year in 2023?
No, I don't foresee that. What I do see is that the IRS is going to find more ways to do all their checks and balances. And I think that's what we're seeing is they're developing systems in which they can, pay closer attention to the things that are being submitted to them. They have not made an announcement saying that they are short-staffed this year or anything to that nature. That's what happened the last 2 tax seasons. So, no, I don't expect it at this time. But if there is, if that may happen, I would expect an announcement around the 15th of February or late February, right as they get in the thick of things.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So as soon as we get our W-2 in the mail, everybody wants to know, how soon am I getting my refund? So when do refunds generally begin getting released?
Refunds are usually released every year around the 15th of February. Sometimes it's before the 15th, sometimes it's after. Usually it's a Friday, right either before or after the 15th of February. And that is usually the earliest release of tax returns. Of tax refunds. Some of them will come out sooner if you don't have earned income credit. But the earned income credits are usually held at least a week or 2 after that, after the first release of refunds.
Thank you. So I know a lot of families that have had children in daycare and they're getting ready to go to school. It's something that excites us. However, we kind of wonder that daycare deduction, where's it going? And just how does that work? When children go to school, do you kind of kiss all those tax breaks or, credits goodbye? When kids go to school from daycare and they start elementary school, how do your taxes change as a result?
So from daycare to elementary school, you still do have dependent care. The deduction is called dependent care. It's a dependent care credit. It's actually not a deduction, it's a credit. It is called a dependent care credit. It is to cover any expenses that you have to pay for your dependents to be cared for while you are at work. This is initially introduced as daycare, but this can also convert to before care, after care. If you have a senior that you are taking care of, some sort of senior daycare.
This is the first time I've ever heard about seniors. Okay. I also know quite a few people who have children that are entering college. So what does that dependent care sort of look like for them once your kid is 18?
Well, once your children are 18, they are of legal age to claim themselves. If they go to college full-time, then you can claim them between 19 and 23. This is only for that short period of time of them being in college. They have to be in college full-time from 19 to 23. After that age, they are fully emancipated, no matter what they're doing. And does the tax, do your deductions, things like that go down? Yes, they do. With the children that are in college, if you're paying for your children's college and you're still claiming your child, that 1098-T goes onto the parent's return, and the child files as a dependent, not an independent, somebody that can be claimed on someone else's return.
Excellent. Wow, learning so much. I need to just save this podcast episode for when it's my turn to have kids in college. All right. So I called Brooke recently and said, thank you. I know I say thank you all the time, but thank you. Because I bought a house, and I've heard countless horror stories about how people can't find this paper. They switched accountants. Now they can't reach the previous accountant. They done flew and went somewhere. It's just countless stories about how long the process takes, how many people have to track stuff down across America and other countries, and just how intense the process is on its own. But then finding all the documents and verification items that you need is just a real headache. For me, it was not a headache. I went back as far as my little heart desired and was able to find every single thing that I needed, records of everything. I could have the loan officer say they need something, and I send it to them in an hour, and they were shocked. I meant to tell you. They said, wait a minute. I've been doing this for 30-some-odd years. It takes people weeks. I said, you don't have my tax to prepare. So what are some key things that people need to know about just the home buying process as it relates to your organization of finances?
Well, first of all, organization is key. I was just explaining this to somebody the other day. I said even before we started going electronic, I used to give a file, like a report. Remember the file report that you used to get when I first started doing your taxes years ago? Yeah, when we were still doing paper, we used to get a nice file report with a nice cover. It says your name, tax year, taxes. It has all your documents in it. But I did it like that so that way you can keep a nice record of it. Of course, yes, my parents implemented that into me. But you have to be able to keep your records, and you have to be able to keep your records straight. And even when I used to give people the booklets, I used to put the W-2s in the booklet so that way they had the W-2s and the tax returns all together. Now we're doing electronic, but everything is still, in a file. I name it a certain way, so then that way, you can go back and check. That this is what the name that Brooke has for all of my reports, so I can find them quickly. I just think that organization is key. I have helped people in the loan process as far as getting mortgages. I worked with a loan officer. kind of studied under him for a couple years, and I learned that process. And in that process of assisting and working with him and learning mortgages, I I've got the paperwork together. I was the liaison between him and the client, and I had to go sit down with the client, or I had to go to the client's house and go get the paperwork. And just having the paperwork and having the needed paperwork and having access to the things that you should have access to, like your tax returns, just makes it so much easier. It just really does. My thing is, one of my rules of thumb, even when I'm teaching my children, are, make sure when you're driving, you got your driver's license, you got your registration, you got your car insurance, So it's almost the same thing as far as your financials are concerned. Make sure you can present yourself first and foremost. Make sure you got access to your bank statements. Make sure you have your tax returns. I can't tell you how often people ask me for tax returns 3 or 4 years later. 3 and 4 years later, and they're like, I don't think I ever received them. And I'm like, so you never checked that email. It wasn't that important to you. But my thing is, even if you never checked it, even if you never looked at it, save it. Put it in a folder. Do something where you're like, okay, I might not read it, but I know that this is important and I know it needs to be saved, or I need to have it in a special place for the time, when the time comes. And I just believe that, number one, if you are getting ready to make a big purchase, tell your accountant the year before. Tell them what your plan is. Your accountant, the reason why you have an accountant, especially a personal certified tax preparer, is so that they can help you with the financial decisions that you plan to make in the future. So if you plan on buying a house, if you plan on buying a car, if you plan on buying a boat, plan on buying a building, whatever it is that you're planning on doing, let them know so then that way your financial position can be the way that it needs to be. Okay? Income. Your mortgage lender, your loan officer, they're going to tell you how much income you need to have to buy that house. Okay? And you will know. And your tax return needs to reflect that. There's pretty much no way of getting around that. So those are other things that, you need to be aware of. Have your tax returns, know what those numbers are, know how to, where to identify your AGI, and things like that.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if this is a Brooke thing or a certified tax preparer thing. I'm leaning to the Brooke side, but something else that was extremely helpful was having a translator. Like she mentioned, because she'd done work in the field before, it was so helpful to receive an email full of jargon I never thought to, never thought about, never heard of. And I think one thing that stood out to me about the process is you don't really have I'll use the word companion. You have your realtor who will shop around, help you shop. You have your loan officer who will see if you qualify. And somewhere in between the two, you have a team title company, all those different people, but their jobs are so specified, so key. It's almost like if you don't have this paper, let me know let's talk when you have it type thing. So I think it was just so helpful to have certain terms and details clarified for me, and questions, and also financial decisions. They're not so cut and dry. For those people, it is because they do this every day. But for your average human, financial decisions are also emotional decisions. Am I qualified to be? Do I want to maybe stay where I was? Do I want grass? I don't know. And just feeling like, are my finances going to survive this hit next year? These are really great questions to be able to ask someone who's, preparing your finances. Any feedback on that, Brooke?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. each of those people, they have a job. The realtor has a job to sell you a house and get this deal closed. The mortgage lender has a job to get you a mortgage and make sure the deal closes. They all want the deal to close. They don't care if it's in anybody's best interest. So yeah, you do. You need somebody who's going to kind of assist you and guide you, and that is why I do offer my friends and clients that extra caring or support, because why not? Honestly, like, why not? It doesn't cost me anything. And if I can offer you assistance that's going to help you, take the next step up, why not? So I'm happy that I was, able to help you through that process, and I'm happy that I was able to, some of the knowledge that I had, I was able to share and, help you through. Because so often we think that we're in competition with each other, and we're not. We're here to lift each other up. So, that's just what I do, honestly. I do it with my friends. I do it with my clients. If I can assist you and it's something that I don't have to break my neck assisting you with, why not? Like, really, truly, why not? That's what life is about. Each one to each one. Each hand hold another hand and lift the other up. So
I think that's a perfect segue into the difference between having a certified personal tax preparer compared to like some of those big box tax franchise companies. Because when you call them, it's like, if you're just stressed out, it can feel as though they think every minute I spend talking to you is a minute I'm not making $1, because you don't even want anything. You're not even sure if you want my services yet. You're just sad, And sometimes they just don't understand that building that rapport, building those relationships, that could be your key to a sale. But if you think, well, let me let this person go politely and not help them through the process because I could be making a lot of money elsewhere, sometimes you can miss out on business. Did you have any feedback on either that or other differences between what it is that you do and then those larger franchises like our H&R Block, and there's so many popping up everywhere?
well, even with me trying to expand my company, and even with the things that we do, like helping other or smaller tax preparers or new tax preparers establish their own companies. But I just believe like that one-on-one service, that one-on-one assistance helps. It matters. I like to talk to one person. I don't want to talk to 100 different people, or you know what I mean, or if I have to talk to 3 or 4 people that's in your office, and it's Jane, Jack, and Susan, or Keisha, Susan, and Mary, whatever, that's fine. I can get used to the people in your office, but I don't really want to talk to somebody new, or have them have to learn me every single time they have to service me. One of my qualities or standards when I am conducting business is the platinum rule, is to teach people how they want to be treated. So in order to treat people how they want to be treated, you have to know them. And if you don't know them, then you can't treat them how they want to be treated. You can only treat them how you would think they want to be treated. And that is a good rule to teach, but in all reality, people want to be treated how they want to be treated, and that's just that. So I believe that personal relationship is very important. I also believe that you have somebody that can call and pick up your phone call and answer a quick question for you. Answer a quick question while you're filling out a W-4. Answer a quick question while you're filling out a loan application. Answer a quick question while you're filling out financial aid forms. Answer a quick question while you're looking at houses. Answer a quick question. Like, these are all the different times that I have gotten phone calls. And it's a 5 to 10 minute phone call. And if I'm not busy, then why not? Why not? That is just service, and that is serving your client and serving your client and your customer and your friends to the best of your ability. And that's why, I think that those are the qualities that you're going to get out of a personal preparer versus going to a store or a larger franchise.
I have literally called Brooke and said, hey, I just found out I'm pregnant, so do I have an extra dependent now, or does the embryo not count? These are real questions. These are real questions, real life. What do I do? So, speaking of business owners, why is it important for those who own a business to be organized and ready for tax season before it gets here? And what are some ways they can do that?
Well, for businesses, it's very important for them to be organized. And if you are not prepared to pay a bookkeeper monthly, find a way to do it on your own. One program, not 10. One payment service, not 5. One bank account, not 3. These are the ways that are going to simplify it. Even if you have a business account, and if you do run all your transactions through your business account, there are a lot of perks that the business accounts offer these days, where you can get some of the summaries that you need to get, or they can do some of the classifications that you need to know and things like that for your taxes. But I do believe that if you are a small business owner, you need to have some sort of organization. Whether you're putting your stuff on a spreadsheet or somebody else is putting your stuff on a spreadsheet, or you have one little handy-dandy app that links everything. But everything needs to be put onto a spreadsheet. You need financial statements. And you need to know what your spend is and what the classifications of your spends are at the end of the year. Me personally, as a preparer, I don't want to say I dislike it, but it is an exuberant amount of work if a business owner comes to us at the year end and they need us to essentially do their books for the year and do their taxes, and they don't want to, of course, pay because now you're looking at $300 to $500 a month, for 12 months at one time. And, how does your accountant help you to the best of their ability without thoroughly, completing your books and having your books done, and so you can take the proper deductions, and we can assess, where certain charges should go and certain expenses should go and things like that. In all reality, you're doing yourself a disservice. You are doing yourself a disservice. So if it's year 1 in your business, if it's year 10 in your business, if you are not financially organized, sign up for a service, do it yourself, find yourself a bookkeeper or an accountant, but get organized somehow, some way. Like I said, even if you can't afford the monthly charge, get signed up on a system and do it at night. As a new business owner, the first 5 years we're working overtime. And that is because you do have to tend to do everything until you can afford to pay somebody to do it for you. So that's the sacrifice of being a business owner, and it's a sacrifice of growing your business. And you put in that time, and eventually you won't have to do it anymore. So, but the cost and the value of being financially organized is priceless. It's going to make tax season that much easier. It's going to make tax season that less stressful.
Woman of the Week, it is Dasha Kennedy of the Brooke Black Girl. And I love her. We love her. I think it's just so cool that she is an advocate for not just financial education, but she is unapologetically loud about it being a Black woman financial advocate. She's a Black woman financial advocate, but she constantly advocates for Black women's financial literacy and is always giving helpful tips like if you save $20 per day, then by the end of the year you'll have $6,840. She shares things such as financial trauma, such as if you hoard things, you may have experienced poverty or starvation. These are some traumas that reflect in your personal finance habits. Or buying more than you can eat, constantly storing more food than you need. That might show a fear of scarcity, a fear of hunger. So, according to her website, she's a financial activist that single-handedly helped over 70,000 African American women kickstart their personal finance journey through culturally relevant financial education. She started the Brooke Black Girl in 2017 because she needed to find resources and a community that met her where she was, which was broke. And she needed a community that wouldn't be shaming her for being there or ignoring the many systematic factors that led her there. So she constantly talked about how she gets feedback on people that respond to her posts saying, well, people just need to make more. And she always responds to that by saying it's equally important to meet people where they are in terms of finance, not just where they are in their bank account, but where they are in their knowledge. Are they ready to invest, or do they need to practice saving for an emergency fund? What are their ideals around money? Are they healthy? What are their resources that they have? Are there needs that they have that need to be met first before we can even think about doing another step? And what goals do people have? She talks a lot about low-income earning Black women and how we need to have the best tool. So I love that she has a humongous page and a humongous following, but she is so clear on her message and her intent. I mean, the advice suits everyone. Everybody can learn, but I think it really, really sheds light on what we talk about in our podcast, which is you have your niche and don't apologize for it and don't try to widen the net and scope to make people feel comfortable. You be who you are and reach who you're called to reach. And everyone else can be blessed by it, inspired by it. But just focusing in is valuable because there's a group of people that need that. Any feedback on that, Fred? Miss Dasha Kennedy.
No, I actually like a lot of the things that you said about her. I'm going to have to go check her out. I don't think I've ever seen a post from her, so I'm shocked. But no, I like the fact that she said that you have to meet people where they are. Like what step are they ready to do? This new, social media trend, you don't like when I start talking junk about social media. But it's the microwave culture. It's the, let's jump in and cook real quick. And yes, you want to invest, but do you have an emergency? You know what I mean? Do you have emergency savings account? Do you have $1,000 up for a rainy day? These things matter. Do you have life insurance for you and your children? These things matter. And I believe that I like that people want to go and do better for themselves, but there's a foundation that needs to be created. There's a foundation that is built for emergencies, for if things happen, you can deal with them. And then after that foundation is built and you can say, my family is good, then I can invest and, I can do things of that nature and I can go on vacation and things like that. So I like her saying we got to meet them where they are mentally first, and teach before you can go to the next step. So I would definitely say I'm going to check her out. So y'all go ahead and check her out. Our phenomenal woman of the week.
I'm going to ask one more burning question because it's applicable to the season of the year that we're in. And we will have a part 2, so stay tuned. So here's the burning question because I know it's going to start rolling in if it hasn't already. What are the pros and cons of tax extensions? Because right now you have your early, as soon as the W-2 hits or before then, people are reaching out. But you have the people who are uncomfortable because they owe or they think they might, and people lost that paper we were talking about. So what are pros and cons of tax extension?
Well, the pros and cons of tax extension. So first of all, a lot of people that do file tax extensions tend to owe. We can start there, or tend to be unorganized. One of the two. And I'm not shedding, trying to throw any dirt or anything. But these are usually, like you said, either they lack some sort of paperwork, they're missing some sort of paperwork, or they owe taxes and they want to kind of postpone their payment. Let's first of all talk about that. Taxes are due April 15th every year. Whether they change it to the 18th, whether they change it to the 16th, I think it might be the 18th this year. But every year, that's when taxes are due. Even if you file an extension, that's when taxes are due. If you file an extension is just, it gives you time to file. Okay, that's all it does. Penalties start to accrue. You do not usually get late fees because you file an extension. You don't get late fees, but you do get interest. They do add interest on. So they might not add the late fees because you filed an extension. So pretty much you file an extension is removing your late fees, but interest still happens. So you'll receive penalties in forms of interest on the money that you owe. So there will be additional money added on to what you owe. And this is why it's so important, like, to make sure your deductions are right and to make sure that, if you need to submit estimated payments during the year, you're doing so. Because to me, just my personal opinion is I rather not owe than owe, because when you start to owe now, there's an additional tax on owing. So now it's not that you only owe $100, but now you owe $115 because there's an extra tax or extra penalty on top of that. I will say an extension gives you 6 months. You have 6 months to file, so you have until October 15th. Last year they closed e-filing for everybody on November 15th. So you could still e-file up until November 15th. If you owe the government or you owe the IRS, they are looking for you to file your tax return, and you need to file an extension or something of that nature to let them know that you intend to file your tax return. If you are somebody who gets refunds, you have 3 years to file your tax for your tax refund. If you file after this 3 years, you will have to explain why, and that money may be reduced, okay, for all kinds of fees or etc. So That's just a rule of thumb. I've gotten that question a lot also. But if you are somebody who gets a refund, you have 3 years to file. And if you are somebody who owes, you need to file before April 15th or October 15th, because penalties, late fees will be added on if you do not file in a timely fashion.
All right, so you guys heard her. Get them in. Get them in. All right, so what, as we close, would be some general tax advice that you have for listeners? What are maybe 1 or 2 takeaways that we should keep in mind as we either look for who's going to be preparing our taxes, sit down at the computer, try to do it on our own? But what should people be keeping in mind this tax season?
Well, first of all, get all your documents together. That's number one. Get all of your documents together. Not, I have 4 documents, but I'm still waiting for 2. Everything all together. And as they come in, put them in one spot. I actually just lost a paper this week. I'm a little mad at myself because I put all my papers in one spot. So this one paper didn't get to that spot, and I'm a little upset. But yeah, so put everything in one spot, so then that way you know where all your tax papers are. So before either you're going to your preparer or you're sitting in front of the computer, you're going to try to do it on your own. You have all your paperwork. That's number one. Number 2, have access to documents in case you need any additional documents. The mortgage. So the mortgage interest deduction or credit changed over the last 4 or 5 years. So a lot of people still aren't giving their mortgage statements. Give your accountant every single tax document you receive, whether you feel that it's relevant or not. If a tax document is prepared, and even if it says that you don't need it, still give it to your accountant. Some of these things go on to things like Schedule A's for itemized deductions. So if they add up to a certain amount, they might matter, okay? If they're under a certain amount, then yes, they might not matter. But if we don't know about them, then we can't even make that comparison. So give your accountant every single document you receive. Interest, I don't care if it has 5 cents on it. Give it to your accountant. If it has $10 on it, give it to your accountant. Interest statements, 1099Bs, 1099Cs, debt forgiven, 1099Cs, debt forgiven. You get a 1099C when they forgive that credit card debt that you didn't want to pay. You get a 1099C, you have to report it as income. It's taxable. Give it to your accountant. Another thing is when the IRS does tend to, because they have documents, so they have your 1099s, they have your W-2s, and that's why I stress giving these papers to your accountant, because if they're giving you the paper, guess what? The paper's been submitted to the IRS. So they gave it to 2 people. They gave one to you and they gave one to the IRS. So when you go to submit your return, the system might not initially, sound off, oh, Imani didn't do all her papers on her tax return. The system might not catch it at that point, but the system probably will catch it in about a year. Okay, when things slow down and they start to go through all the ones that were yellow. It might have not been red, it might have been yellow instead of being green, So, and they start going through and they say, oh, this one had a 1099 over $10,000 that they didn't pay, or this one had a 1099 for $1,000 that they didn't report. And they're going to contact you. And it usually takes about a year. And clients have called me, Brooke, I got a letter. And it's usually like December, November of the following year, after they file. and they're asking about it. So, this is why I say take your time, get all of your documents together. Another thing, we talked about the sitting down with an accountant versus your personal tax preparer. Um, I don't like sitting down with clients. And it's not because I don't want to sit down with you and talk face to face and hee hee ha ha. That's not it. The deal is, I believe in paying close attention to detail. And if you've written a book before, which I have, which Imani has, if you continue to read the book that you wrote, you start to think that things are there that aren't there because you knew what you wanted to write. So even though it's not there, you're reading it as there because that's what you intended to put there. Same thing when you're doing a tax return. We're talking about reviewing something that could be 10 to 52 pages. So if I wanted this number to be here or I wanted that depreciation to be this way, I might start seeing it that way and it's not really there, or it's not really calculated properly, or it's off by 0.5%. And all of these things matter. So one of my things is 72 hours. It takes me 72 hours to prepare a tax return. Does it take me physically 72 hours to look? Do I need to look at your tax return for 72 hours? No. I need to go in with fresh eyes 3 times. I need to go in with fresh eyes 3 times. The first time that I enter all your stuff, the second time that I'm entering any additional information, and the third time that I'm double checking everything. Okay? If I'm sitting down with you and we're submitting right then and there, I don't have the opportunity to go in with fresh eyes. And it also doesn't give me time to say, wait, did you give me this? Or wait, did you give me that? And that's why I don't like to. I prefer not to do it in that fashion because I believe it's a rush, and I believe that people forget documents all the time, and they're honest mistakes. Like everybody, it's not a purposeful thing. It's everybody has things going on. Everybody has things to do. So it's not a purposeful thing of people forgetting documents. But you forget documents because you were running down the street to go get your child. Or you forget a document because you were running down the street because you were late to work. And you're late to work and you had to get gas on the way. Or whatever the case is. So, it's an honest mistake. But that's why you give yourself that time. That's why you give yourself that grace. And that's why you prepare.
It's funny you say that because when you were talking about just the difference, when we try to do certain tax activities on our own, I just know we have like a baby on the hip, food in the other hand happening, and you said 72 hours, like people be sitting down for 1 hour and just moving on, like boom, I press submit. So I just think that that's another clear difference too, just diligence and knowing what you're looking for, knowing what you're doing, knowing what each part of it means, So I love that you touched on the importance of each piece and submitting every financial document that we receive. I think that's a really great call to action. Check under those car seats for missing papers. If you know you put something somewhere, can't find it, and find it before April 15th. Alrighty, so with that, we are wishing all of you beautiful angels a blessed and productive week.
And remember, you all will get through this tax season too. Have a good one.
Guidance given during this program are only reflections of our personal experience and is not a substitute for professional advice. Change
Stay faithful, not hateful. I'm playful, cause he got me. He called me his angel. I'm flying to heaven. Just know that he sent me from heaven to flex you.